Good evening. Being that it's 7:05, we will call the meeting to order. And Michelle, if you could please read the sunshine law.
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards, filed with the Borough Clerk, and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, the Star Ledger, and the Two River Times.
Thank you. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cooper. Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Here.
Councilmember Good.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Here.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here. Everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can please remain standing for a moment of silence for all that have been impacted and continue to serve on the front lines for COVID-19. Thank you. Before we open the meeting to the public, I just would like to reference that Councilman Good, I believe you would requested for Resolution 23220 and 23320 to be pulled. So I would ask if you want to make a motion on that now so that the public knows that it doesn't need to be discussed during public.
Mayor, thank you. Also, actually, with I just learned some additional information. I'm going to ask that 23120 also be tabled. I think we need to talk to our tax counsel about a couple of issues with regard to all of these applications.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask that those be. Do we need to make a motion for it? I'll move for it. Tabled.
I'll second.
So so you're moving for 23120, 23220, 23320 to be tabled from the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And all in favor from the council?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay. I figured that way the public knows that that's not going to be heard tonight. So before we open it to the public, members of council, is anything else need to be removed from the agenda before we open to the public? Okay, great. Thank you. Can I please have a motion to open
Motion.
the motion for, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. So members of the public, we'll go with who's on video first. If you could raise your hand, then we'll acknowledge, and then we'll move to anyone that's on the phone line. And this is only for items that are on the agenda at this point. Oh, okay. So for a matter of record, Councilman Cooper has joined the meeting. Okay. Anyone on video wish to speak on anything on the agenda? Ms. Bonk?
Hi, can you mute that? Donna Bonk here. I appreciate, Michelle, thank you for getting my issue put onto the agenda for tonight so last minute. I don't know if I should speak now about it or if I should speak when it comes up on the agenda, so let me know. As many
now
of you
would be the time. There won't be another time to speak about it, so you are correct to speak about it now.
Okay.
It won't be voted on until later, but it's to be discussed now from the public.
Okay. So as many of you know, I had a house fire almost 2 years ago on Fulton Street. It has been an absolute nightmare. My kids and I, we've been out of the house. It was recently just demoed. Finally, like the stars aligned and we were able to, insurance didn't give an entire insurance didn't give an entire, payout on the insurance policy. So it took me a long time to figure out how to make up the difference to build a new house. Finally, everything came together. We have Edge Builders, which is also doing the property behind me on Manchester. Lenny's fantastic. We got everything going. We get to finally, after almost 2 years, we get to the point where we are digging for the foundation a couple weeks ago. And it ends up, I have a 130-year-old water pipe going through my driveway. The easement that was recorded June of 1893, I need to, I don't know what Lenny was going to try to be on here. He had a meeting. I need to figure this out because I need to get home and I need to build my house. And from what Lenny has told me, the property on Manchester behind me, the warehouse is not going to use this water. When they build it, they are rerouting everything and they are, they're going to cap it at the top of my driveway. At the bottom of my driveway is where I need it to get capped so that we can just consider this an abandoned easement. Nobody is using this water. And, I'll remove it. I just need it capped. I need it to move forward. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to get the plans ready to be built. And then this, which was not seen, I can't move my house. I can't change the plans. I can't spend tens of thousands of more dollars on more surveys and more permits and more engineers and everything. Like, I need this fixed and I need my kids. I need to build this house and I need to bring my kids home. They're doing remote learning first semester, but I had every intention, because we were supposed to be in by Christmas, to do them second semester, and I can't have this delayed. And so whatever it is that the town needs to do on this abandoned easement from over 130 years ago, can we please do this as soon as possible? Because I can't take one more delay. It's already almost 2 years. October will be 2 years. So I know things don't always work. There's sometimes a delay. I can't have a delay. So
No.
I'll remove
So,
the pipe itself. I just need it capped off and permission.
right.
It's an abandoned easement.
Right. So thank you, Ms. Bunk, for explaining the story behind that. So we did receive your letter last week asking and notifying us about this pipe. Just for clarification purposes, I'm going to make sure Councilman Good can confirm. I just want to clarify for the record that there has been nothing approved or moved forward on 75 Manchester. So I just want to separate that conversation, because I understand that he potentially might be interested in that, and that's the same person building your house, but we really can't really talk about the apples and oranges because nothing has been moved forward on the 75 Manchester. Am I correct, Mr. Councilman?
Yes, with regard to 75 Manchester.
Okay.
Okay,
What I
okay.
can tell you,
So, but as far, okay, but I'm just saying those are two separate things, right?
Okay.
So as far as your request to cap the water, Mrs. Laney, have you reviewed this with construction department at all? Because the capping of the water, as long as you're going to have your water turned on where it was when you had the house standing, and if has construction's George Falco confirmed that this line is not in use?
Well, we have confirmed that the line is not presently in use.
Jay, you got to
I think
unmute.
you have to
Yeah, I
unmute.
can't hear.
Sorry.
There we go, much better. We are in the process of confirming that pipe is not actively used, and that does appear to be the case. The bigger question in terms of potential future use, again, as the property owners indicated, this easement has existed for more than 100 years. So we are in the process of just confirming that the removal of this pipe will not disrupt the distribution system for future use. Or alternatively, that could be relocated elsewhere on the property outside of the building footprint.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Thank you. I had muted because he was speaking. So Mr. Rubenstein is actually on. I can see him now. So, but for reference, though, Councilman Good, we really can't stop something from moving forward for a potential something on 75 Manchester. Am I correct? Like if she needs this capped for her own property and it was an easement, I don't, whether 75 Manchester might potentially possibly, like that's too many possibles and mights on that is my opinion. Am I wrong, Councilman Good?
Well, yes, you are. Yes, you are correct about 75 Manchester. I think that really Jay hit this question on the head, is whether or not this pipe's actually being used. From the tone, I guess, or of the letter from Donna's letter, it doesn't seem like it's being used. It seems like it's an abandoned 100-something-year-old pipe. So if, assuming that this is just a pipe that doesn't even carry water, the step I think would then kick it over to Mark, and just, if we need to abandon the easement, that would be, I guess, more along those lines. But you know,
So,
I'd say
and
as
we
long
would
as
need what, something from that property owner, that current, Mr. Rubenstein, have you closed on 75 Manchester as a purchase?
We're actually closing, I believe, next week. We're just getting all our ducks in a row with the attorneys. But if you don't mind, I could maybe shed a little bit more light on what had ended up happening there.
Sure.
The pipe is actually active. It's a 6-inch active line that loops into Maple, and then at some point to Manchester. If you look at Bob's maps that he was nice enough to give me a copy of, it basically loops the water line with no interruption from Fulton Street through our Manchester site at 75, and then kicks over to the right and then up Maple. Now, obviously, what I had mentioned to Donna was that not that we can just eliminate the pipe, but in the future, should Manchester go forward, the project, we have a water distribution system designed for the site that would alleviate any need for that pipe to be there. As a matter of fact, I don't believe it's incorporated in what our new site plan that we propose to the town shows. So I said that if there was going to be an abandonment, we'd have a decent argument based on the fact, should Manchester move forward, that pipe's going to be abandoned based on our new design anyway. As it sits right now, there's water flowing. As a matter of fact, the reason we know this is because Bobby and I were out in the street and there's no shutoff to this lateral. So it's an active line with no shutoff. The only tap that was in it was the one servicing Donna's house pre-demolition. And apparently that was,
you mean Bob Pitchman, correct? DPW?
Yeah. His guys were out there. We located the pipe. We called them right away, and they looked for a shutoff. And there's no T shutoff for this particular pipe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it sounds like Mr. Delaney is already working on trying to come up with a solution. And then, as Councilman Good said, then once they're able to confirm whether the easement or who, I don't know at whose expense the water line is going to have to be capped at on and all that kind of stuff, but that's going to be, I guess, Mr. Delaney and George Falco and Bob Kutchman and Mr. Moon can work on that. And I can't promise that it'll be on in 2 weeks, but in a perfect world, that would be great. But, minus any more tropical storms and everything else we've been facing. So that would be a kind of a quick turnaround. Who is that?
Oh, it's Mark Moon.
Someone just, oh, hi.
Oh, hi. The easement that exists, the easement is between the borough and the property owner, or is it the adjoining property owner between the two property owners? I'm confused about.
It's my easement.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is my understanding that the easement is totally within the Bonk property.
Okay.
yes, but it's granted to whom? Who's allowed? Who's the entity or person that's allowed to do stuff on the easement?
I can only speak, I'll use the generic we. We have not seen the actual easement documentation. The easement is not reflected, I don't believe, on the tax maps. So the precise language as to who the easement was granted to, presumably to the borough for the installation of the water main initially. But that
Jay-
is a presumption.
Actually, I'm
Jake,
just
I
looking at the
have that
letter.
documentation. Did you see the documentation that my lawyer,
I,
it's literally handwritten from 1893.
Donna, I see it in the letter. It says here that it was given to the Board of Commissioners of the Borough of Keyport.
Yeah, it's
So
hard
that
to even
means,
read it, yeah.
so that would mean that the borough is kind of maintaining, I guess, the water line. So I guess here's my question. Donna, when your house, before the fire, did this pipe interfere with,
No,
where?
it went up my driveway. In fact, I didn't even remember it, honestly. And then when they found it, it was like, oh yeah, I think I remember something from 16 years ago when I closed on the house, because the property behind me has been abandoned for the 16 years I've lived there. So it's not like for 16 years they've been getting water and now they're not. Like,
It is, how is the construction's different? So that's the reason why it comes into play?
yes, because the house that Lenny's putting on, it sits back different because it has to. My house was very close to the street and it was kind of like over to like one side, whereas now it's more centered and, with the setbacks you need, it kind of goes more where my, back into where my driveway is. And, and that's the house, I mean, I can't, and when Lenny's like, there's a pipe, and it kind of vaguely, my lawyer from 16 years ago, he still had the paperwork that he was able to find for me. So I can't have any more delays. Like, my kids and I are living in a retirement village in Brick with my mom in a 2-bedroom. Like, they're 15 and 12. Like, I got to get home. So I can't have any more delays. And they're not your fault. It's just circumstance. But, I was supposed to be home by Christmas, and that doesn't look like it's happening. So whatever needs to happen, like to be expedited, that's what needs to be happened. And I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, but I'm just tired.
Understood. I think from I mean, again, Mark will can handle the legal part. I think it's just really finding out where the water goes and whether or not moving the water line around is feasible. I would say feasible, but everything's feasible, but just moving it around. So that's going to be the issue. I mean, just from a legal abandoned easement standpoint, it's relatively straightforward. Mark, of course, I'm stepping on your toes there, but this is really going to end up being an engineering question. So if it can be done,
I think we're right. So I think we have all the team players on board that need to have these final discussions and figure out what kind of plan they can come up with. So they'll be in communication with you, Ms. Funk, once they have more pieces solved, and then we'll, they'll let you know what.
I give full permission for anyone to talk to Lenny about anything that they need to, because he knows more than I do. So if it's a question for him that, I don't have to relay to him, just talk to him directly.
Jay, if you could get the documentation forwarded to me, just so that I have the description of the easement, so I can just, so I can just whip up the termination and vacation of the easement, so I can at least get that done right away.
Will do.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public have anything on the agenda they wish to speak on?
Yes, Andrew, please.
Hold on one second. Anyone on video?
I don't have video. I'm just on.
Right. Yeah, we're doing a phone call. Second. Hold on
I'm
one
not
second.
on the phone. I'm
Making
on the
sure
computer. I just don't have video.
Right. I know. Hold on one second. Okay. So I don't see any raising of hands. So Mr. Crew, you're up.
Okay. As you know, we had an opening occur in the library board trustees with the passing of Jim Bocci. And I had recommended Chris Lysing, so I asked him to come to tonight's meeting. If anybody had any questions for him, or if you'd like to hear a little bit about him, maybe now's the time just before you vote, or if you don't think that's necessary, that's obviously your call. So at your pleasure, if you'd like to ask Chris any questions, he's here to answer them. Thank you.
I don't have any questions for Chris, but Chris, if you want to unmute yourself and say hi. But
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to join you and speak to you. I'm excited about the opportunity to be a library trustee. Actually, I had a chance to sit in last week, and after that meeting, I went online and was amazed. So I renewed my library card, and I am born again when it comes to library. So looking for good things there. And once again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
great. Thank you.
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport.
Hi, Mr. Lane.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. A couple agenda items and a couple First Street items. Letter 10 talks about the bridge over Chingarora Creek and getting approval for an easement from the borough. When Mr. Gallo and myself and Trevor did the walk down first, the dialogue, and we had multiple dialogues after that, that this bridge, when it's rebuilt, needs to have the roadway elevated sufficient so that it doesn't flood every full moon tide with a little wind out of the east, which is the way the Matawan Creek roadway floods and the other new bridge over the Chingarora Creek. And Steve Gallo took that as a personal initiative to get with the county and make sure that the roadway to the bridge is elevated on both sides. And so somebody needs to follow up on that. Jay?
I believe that was already concluded, but when we presented this with the county, there were meetings with them. So I know the county engineers as well as our engineers aware that needs to take place. But Mr. Delaney, are you familiar with that yet?
Yes, I am. And I spoke with the borough's engineer just to ensure the county is planning on raising the elevation of that bridge. I believe, I want to say 4 to 5 feet. And just to make sure that the portion of the roadway leading up to it that the county will take care of, we need to coordinate that with our roadway, obviously, for the reasons Mr. Lane has cited.
Yeah, the Matawan Creek Bridge was raised 4 or 5 feet, but they didn't raise the approach roadways, and so the access to the bridge floods frequently. Okay, under unfinished business, the Emberick Boardwalk Power Link, just restate the fact that we really don't have any facilities in town to take the DC current and convert it to alternating current. And we need to really verify that they're going to ship the power out of the borough in a DC voltage pipe as previously proposed for the power that was going to come into the borough.
Sorry. I think there should be somebody on the call today from Emberick. They were scheduled to be here.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that becomes part of the dialogue, since the public will not be able to ask any questions of Emberick.
Yep. Mark, this is John Valeri from the law firm of Keys, Ashinian and John Tomasi. We represent Emberick. Also on the line should be Jason Ringler, who is the consultant for Emberick, and we can answer questions.
All right, so I asked the council to make sure they get a clear picture of that situation. Question for
Mr. Lane, it's on the agenda tonight for them to present to the public and the members of council what their new plans are. So Councilwoman Pacheco arranged for them to be on, and it's on the agenda for later. So thank you.
Right, but the public will not be able to ask any questions.
I understand.
For Joe Sheridan's report regarding the budget, particularly the TAP, Pedestrian Safety Improvement Budget. Joe, thank you very much for sending me the details on that budget that helped explain the 51% increase in the budget item from around $750,000 $60,000 to 1.1 million without any change in the project scope. And analysis was that the huge increase of more than 50% is due to a 309% increase in the engineering costs for design and inspection. So if you could give some insight on how much sense that makes and what's the basis for it, appreciate it. Dennis and Victoria, regarding some dialogue at the Keyport Harbor Commission meeting, the 30-inch outfall pipe that goes through Beach Park used to have its capacity dramatically reduced by silting of sand into the pipe, to the point where when we had significant intense rainfalls, Division Street would flood, East Front Street would flood, and First Street would flood. And so there was hope that when we put this new 30-inch pipe in, we would solve the flooding problem. But the problem is that the output of the pipe is significantly restricted by the ductbill. And the ductbill has creating the same problem as the sand silting in. If you do a little research, you'll find that Seabright had the same problem. They got rid of their ductbills and they put in a pump station. If you look at the Bayshore seawall in Keensburg and Hazlitt and Middletown, you'll find that they solved the problem with a pump station. And so I think our solution of the ductbill is not a usable, valid solution. The problem is when we have a storm like Sandy or Irene, you have pressure against the ductbill from the storm surge coming in the bay, and you have pressure against the outfall pipe to empty based on heavy rains. And so in effect, you shut down the pipe. And that's why,
we are aware that the last 3 storms, there's been some issues, and the engineer team has been out there a few times.
But it's no different than the problems we had for the last 30 years when the sand would silt in the pipe. And so the engineers need to look at the solutions that have been implemented in Seabright, Middletown, Hazlitt, Keensburg with pump stations. And the same issue is with the 25 East Front Street. When, I don't know whether the council is aware, there are 2 outfall pipes that go into Beach Park. One is the new 30-inch pipe with the ductbill on the end, and the other is about a 20-inch pipe without any ductbill on the end. But when the development was done for 25 East Front, the requirement was for a pump station. And Councilman Good reported that Trevor is aware that we have to have the pump station, but right now, in terms of storms, we're exposed because we don't have a pump station to pump the water out and to block water.
We are aware.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone else from the public? If you are on the phone and wish to speak, please make sure you unmute yourself so we can hear you. Anyone else on video? Final call for public. Going once, twice. Can I please have a motion from council to close to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll move on to committee report. Councilman Cooper. Sorry, Councilman, hold on 1 second. We have to unmute your line. Councilman Cooper, is your phone muted on your end? You might have to hit *6. There you go. Hi, Councilman Cooper. Hello? There you are, I think. Councilman Cooper? Okay. We'll see if we can work that technology glitch out, and we'll, in the meantime, move on to Councilman Fotopoulos, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. The Health and Registrar's report is attached and on the record to all the meeting packets and is public record now. I spoke to Donna Purcell last week, and aside from the attached reports, there was really nothing to add. Recycling, we're going to have a recycling committee meeting in the near future. Trees and branch pickup, even with the recent storm activity, been handled well by the DPW. They have my gratitude. When called upon, Ms. Purcell has met the needs and requests for residents for pickup. If the resident has large kitchen appliances, air conditioners, washers, dryers that need to be disposed of, please reach out to Donna Purcell at 732-739-5132 and arrange for pickup of those items. Same goes for branches and leaf bags while the residents continue to clean up after the storms. The Keyport Environmental Commission met and of note discussed the Complete Streets effort and other ongoing projects. We have since found out from notes from the mayor and Commissioner Palmisano that Clean Ocean Action beach sweeps are scheduled and are going to happen on October 24th as of right now. They're planning to do beach sweeps in a, quote, modified and socially distant manner, as per Allison Jones from the Clean Ocean Action. Some members of the KEC have expressed an interest in participating, but we'll get a better understanding of participation after we meet again at the end of August, and I'll have a report and update on that at the September meeting. We discussed the outfall pipe at Terry Park and near Cedar Street Beach. This isn't the outfall pipe that Mike was referring to. And there's an erosion concern that some members of the commission and Council President Sheridan brought up. Administrator Delaney is looped in. I looped him in on this, and we're going to have some remediation done there while we decide what the long-term solution will be. The immediate goal is to stop the erosion for the moment, and I'll follow up as we have updates on that. And finally, we have an opportunity to be recognized by Sustainable Jersey's Environmental Achievement Awards for our Beachgrass Dune remediation project. Well deserved. I would like to utilize some, if not all, of the material that was used for the Hardy Plant Grant that we did not receive. I'll follow up with Jay Delaney about this, and as I'm sure this is the first time he's hearing about it, but apologies for that, Jay. The Harbor Commission met. Discussions of note included the question of when the warning sign will be installed at the Beachfront Park outfall pipe. Commission members are particularly concerned about the safety of citizens down at Beach Park walking the beach and those who are using recreational water vehicles in the close proximity to the outfall pipe. There was some discussion about the effectiveness of the duckbill valve at this meeting, initiated by Mike Lane. And I'll echo the mayor. I can assure Mike Lane, as I did at the meeting that night, that this is on the top of Administrator Delaney's and the engineer's list. And we are examining the possibility of dealing with the duckbill at the end. And maybe at some point, Mr. Delaney can elaborate on that as well. The commission will need to purchase no wake buoys. Also discussed was the leaning piling at the fishing boat slip. Commissioner Peterson and Commission President Chair Smalling stated that the intent is going to be to repair the piling in the off season when the slip is vacant. Also discussed was the disconnect and removal procedure for the boathouse. We will need to establish a public property location to move the structure to high ground. Right now, the assumed location is Consolidated Fire Department, which is also in danger of flooding in a very high storm surge. height of this building is an issue, especially when it's on a trailer. Heritage Sheds will be, if not already, have been contacted to find out the height of the building and the trailer to see if we can move it upland towards one of the public parking lots. We're looking for a pump out boat solution. For the most part, Commission Chair Smalling is going to follow up with the administrator about some of these discussion points if she hasn't already. We as a council need to start discussions about the Fireman's Park bulkhead improvement. The plan to work with the adjacent landowner by way of a redevelopment area bond solution has produced no interest from them. And so we'll need to closely coordinate with the adjacent landowner to upgrade the borough's bulkhead when they upgrade theirs. Councilmember Pacheco and I will follow up with Administrator Delaney to discuss options, and we will report back and include the redevelopment team, the redevelopment committee if needed. That's all I have for now, and thanks for allowing me the honor to serve you all.
Unmuted. Sorry, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Zaplis. Councilman Good.
Thank you, Mayor. With regard to the fire department, for the month of July, there were 53 calls totaling 231.5 man hours, bringing their year-to-date totals of to 178 calls and about almost 1,300 man hours. I'd also like to thank, amongst the other groups, the DPW, First Aid, the fire department was out at 1 o'clock in the morning on the first storm that we had, continually clearing trees, which were at least along Atlantic and the surrounding areas here, just seemed to be worse than when the tropical storm hit in terms of branches coming down. But they were out checking out everybody. I know they also, there was an electrical wire that was brought down in Green Grove Apartments. So, you know, that's our volunteers, and we appreciate the work that they did, as well as what the DPW and our First Aid were also involved. Let's see. Oh, yes. In our agenda, you see that the 9/11 ceremony, which is beautifully put on every year by the fire department, has been modified due to circumstances. It now is I don't want to say a drive-by, but just kind of a drive-through, and people are invited to put down flowers, memorials there. And I believe that there was in the letter that's in our packet, there was a request, if needed, about a 15-minute parking only. So just for the council members to keep that in the back of their heads. I know we have another council meeting before that, so if that is necessary, I would, I think that we'll hear from the fire department. Let's see. Redevelopment committee met, where we also met with a developer about some of the properties around the town, and a couple of things that at least the developer is working on or anticipated to be working on soon. The planning board, we had our monthly meeting last month, and the only thing on the agenda was the question of the Hudson Point 75 Manchester redevelopment plan. As again, also in the agenda, the planning board found it to be in substantial compliance with the master plan. Let's see if I have anything else. Nope, I think that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Do you have any updates on the fit test machine, Councilmember?
What do you mean the updates with the fit test machine?
There was something you were going to follow up with Chief Crowley for what they still need to be able to.
I was checking, I'm sorry, I thought I was checking to see with the anticipation of a resurgence of this come winter, checking with both the fire department and the first aid to see whether or not how their inventory is with regard to personal protective equipment. I checked.
They can't. Okay. My understanding is they can't utilize the machine without having an abundance of extra in stash or something. And do we know if we were able, before we have, God forbid, heaven forbid, a resurgence, I want to make sure we are able to get those and secure what the masks are that they need to be able to have that working.
Well, they need N95, you know, they need the official N95 mask to utilize it. And, you know, I asked them to check their inventory, make sure that we're expecting, you know, plan for worst case scenario. And the report back was that the first aid is good. I'm still waiting for a response from the fire department, but at least the first aid said they have everything that they need.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Cooper, are we able to hear you? We'll move on to Councilwoman McDermott.
Thank you, Mayor. So my first update is I would like to, for the Recreation Committee, I would like to thank everyone who attended the inspection of the multifunctional park at Main Street, which includes exercise stands, children's playground, very small softball field. I don't know what it's really called. Skateboarding park on Friday the 14th. And it was attended by Rec Committee members where they actually opened the gates. Jay, our Borough Administrator, Trevor, Engineer, Keyport Police Department, Mayor, and myself, and as well as many interested patrons who are waiting to get in. It's been a long-standing project with over 10 years from ideas to implementation. It's been amazing to see it come into fruition. We are excited to see this park being used every day. So it's open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And just one of the things we want to be enforced that everyone's using it in accordance with the sign allowances. And it's nice to be part of the project for the last 2 years. On September 26th, as noted in the agenda, the Rec Committee has requested to hold a grand opening of the skateboarding park to honor that piece of the park on Saturday, September 26th from 2 to 6, pending approval. Movie nights continue to grow in attendance, which helps our businesses with patronage and also community engagement. Please come out for August 24th, and with the rain date being the next day. And again, follow social distancing, which has been well enacted by everyone attending. The summer waterfront activities continue with Tai Chi and yoga with good attendance. We've had some rainouts, unfortunately, but again, it's been a well-received event. And due to COVID-19, there was, as noted in the agenda, the request was to cancel the 2020 Keyport 5K. And some of the reasons included, even if you do a static start and stop, it would actually expand the duration of the race. And also a virtual race was not something that would be feasible given the resources and also the person handling the race, the timing for us. It's been very difficult for them as well to even coordinate anything. So it's been recommended to cancel. The next meeting, also there's another notation agenda for the next meeting to be changed from September 7th to September 9th due to September 7th, the holiday. Senior Center, with the passing of the ordinance that's in the agenda today, number 8-20, we hope to have the Senior Center begin overdue repairs using the general capital funds of $40,000. For public works construction, anything to do with the borough, please use the official request for service link when it's a non-emergency. So for DPW, thank you for your quick responsiveness and action to collect fallen trees, shrubs around properties and obstructing, where there was obstruction of roads and passages, as well as the Keyport Police Department. And as Councilman Good noted, the fire department. It was a very collective, quick effort by everyone. So, and that was also expressed by residents who have reached out to us individually and different pieces of social media. Clean communities, there's a total number of man-made pieces collected. This period is 3,564. Total for the year is over 16,000. And during the storm, the Keyport's, the clean communities also helped using their truck to clear roadways and help the Keyport Fire Department as well as DPW and everything else. There's graphics on a K99 truck if you haven't seen it. It brings awareness and education to the purpose of the program. And as I say, always say wave and say hi to them as they go by if you do see them. There was some incidents of graffiti and where an isolated case of excessive graffiti occurred, and KCC assisted in the graffiti abatement with the police department and as requested by the Detective Bureau, costs expended by the KCC abatement will be tabulated and forwarded out. Volunteer cleanups, as noted by Councilman Fotopoulos, kind of been put on hold, but again, as when they become available, there are organizations interested in doing it when the executive guidelines allow this to happen. That includes the scout groups. The Keyport Litter Cleanup Day will be scheduled within guidelines and be coordinated when all departments are concerned, and all interactions with departments will be reached out. But again, this is all in standby as long as we're allowed to have this with the public ordinance. NPP, the library roof has been completed. There's some wonderful before and after photos on the NPP Facebook page. Yay, we have no more leaky roof. They did an amazing job where they actually even fixed the adequate gutters and stuff. So all that's been replaced. The library masonry work is planned to begin tomorrow, pending weather. But it's gonna begin with masonry. So that's great. Road closure arm gates are pending concrete pours, and the location has been approved by our chief in police department. NPP Facebook page launched. We also have information on NPP details and the plan on our borough website, so feel free to look there. Regarding KBBC, farmers market continues every Thursday at Fireman's Lot. Keyport cash was given to graduates at last month's ceremony for the graduating classes of both Keyport Central School and Keyport High School. And apartment complexes in town to help bring business into Keyport. We also are replacing billboards. The concept was to renew the billboard concept that was done last year with the music festival. What we're going to do is purchase them, and they will start in late August through September and going into August along 35 and 36. So it will be like, it will say, visit Keyport, the waterfall with the sunsets. So there basically will be 4 different photos flashing through, focusing on restaurants, the sunset, different themes. The Keyport Music Festival press release was released, and it does note a cancellation of the 2020 Music Fest with preliminary date for October 9th, 2021. Request for council to approve rescheduling of nominated process for KBBC Board of Directors from September 19th to November 11th. That's in the agenda. And construction. Just one key thing I want to note, we've had more plumbing, electrical, and building submissions this period. And we've also had 44 code enforcements, which notes the activity that everyone is working. When you're home, you start doing some refurb in your home. So that's some good stuff to see in town. So I want to thank everyone who's been supporting our employees and everyone who's been out there in the front line, helping our community at large. I know it's very difficult with COVID-19, especially with the social behaviors that might not be adapting to wearing masks or not following social distancing. So I do want to thank everyone who supports those initiatives and supports the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McDermott. Can I just clarify a couple of things? Just for matter of record, the Keyport cash from KBBC was distributed to all graduating Keyport High School seniors, not Central School senior. Central School 8th grades did not receive that. And then also, just for a matter of clarification, we're not purchasing the billboards, we're purchasing ad space on the billboards. So we don't have that much money in KBBC. We didn't go buy them permanently. So I just want to make those 2 clarifications. Councilwoman Pacheco?
Thank you. So the green team is meeting on August 25th. The kind of the update that's coming from there right now is that we have recertified for bronze. Like I said, we're working towards silver. And then on the agenda today in communications, there was discussion about adding an art society representative to the green team. We actually get a good chunk of points from having a group like that, so it makes sense for having a representative from that group on the green team. Municipal Alliance, August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. And there's also something, I believe, on the agenda to discuss some things we can do around that. Complete Streets, just real quick, I know that's the stakeholder meetings have happened and the group has started discussions about, its demo project, and details will come soon. The team's also going to be doing a workshop on how to actually write the policy, which I'm personally looking forward to because I enjoy stuff like that. So there's some calls and stuff coming up in the next couple weeks, various pieces of that group. For the police, there were 1,012 calls for service, 30 case files. There were 14 mutual aid calls. Sorry. 2 Narcan saves and 3 DWIs. The chief and the captain met with Jay Delaney, and they are looking forward to having a good working relationship with him. On July 23rd, the schools and the Keyport Police Department were able to successfully hold graduation ceremonies for the high schoolers and the 8th graders without any major issues. The chief and the Keyport Police Department wanted to thank Dylan Borders and Mayor Kennedy for their setup for that. The chief and Captain Torres, can't read my own handwriting, sorry, had multiple meetings with the superintendent of the Monmouth County Vocational Schools, Dr. Savoya, and the principals, including the principal of the vocational school, to discuss Complete Streets, the graduation, obviously, and also the return to schools upcoming in a few weeks. And that is all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do Councilwoman McDermott or Pacheco have any updates on the library construction committee?
I don't know if there's an update, except that the NPP was able to successfully help due to much needed repairs in the roof and the masonry. So I think that right now is my update. I don't know if Councilwoman McDermott has.
So the last update was that we submitted the application for the grant. And that update wouldn't be coming till September, when they would even make decisions whether they would continue the program or not. So
okay, great.
I will follow up. I'll follow up to see if there's been any movement with that one.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, lady. Council President Sheridan.
Thank you, Mayor. Finance is going to start preparing for the 2021 budget. The Veterans Initiative and the Senior Bus Committees are still on hold. No meetings in August. The Local Emergency Planning Committee is going to meet this Monday. And we experienced the tropical storm Isaias early in August. And I'd like to thank the DPW, police, fire, first aid, especially the DPW, because it's back-to-back storms where we had all kinds of branches and limbs falling down. And I drive through a number of other towns still seeing piles of branches. And I think they did a great job in Keyport with their limited resources and keeping our town clean and all that. I also like to thank the mayor for following up on getting power to the people that lost power in Keyport. We were pretty fortunate. A couple other towns got hit much harder, but that didn't stop Mayor Kennedy from constantly calling and getting power back to them. And also working with the first aid squad to offer the Borough Hall and the first aid squad as places with Wi-Fi and air conditioning for people that work from home that didn't have power. It really made a difference. And I just tip my hat to her for that creative kind of thinking. I had one question from Mike Lane. I know your question on that TAP grant. I asked CFO Tom Fallon to respond to that, and he did. And I asked the borough engineer Trevor Taylor to respond to that, and he did. And your question might be that we haven't included the engineering involved in the direct oversight that's required by this TAP grant. But I welcome you to sit down with Jay Delaney and go over every nut and bolt of that grant until you're fully satisfied. And we'll get the answers. And I know it's a complicated, it's taken many years now, but it seems to be coming to fruition very shortly. And you should have every answer that you need. And it's not working out with the emails and things like that because you're not getting your satisfaction. So let's just set up a meeting and we'll get everything ironed out. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. Okay, I'll keep my mayor's report short this evening. I would like to piggyback off what almost all the council members have said and give a shout out to DPW, fire, first aid, OEM, as well as Mr. Delaney. We not only had tropical storm, but the week before that, we got hit with, I don't know that it's ever been confirmed. I know Councilman Fotopoulos was looking into whether they actually classified that as a microburst or not, but it was intense. That's what I could say. And I believe one thing, as Councilman Good said, that a lot of the branches came down in that storm versus the official tropical storm. But I think Mr. Delaney hit the nail on the head when we were prepping for the tropical storm that we actually had a preview, right? So all of our loose branches came down in that storm. So there hopefully weren't going to be as many loose ones for the tropical storm. But either way, and then the week prior to that, we also had a significant flooding event at one part of town and another storm that had rolled through in an afternoon. So I would like to acknowledge Mr. Delaney, who has been here just a little over a month now, who has had to deal with 3 major weather circumstances. And he's jumped right in with his rain boots and all, and including multiple flooding inside some of our borough buildings, which continues in the police station. And hopefully after tonight, will not continue once the repairs start, if it's approved, at the senior center. So 2 of our 3 poor working conditions for our employees are moving forward, and hopefully sometime in the very extreme near future, the police ceiling will be repaired as well. And then the other thing is Monmouth, as most of you know, Monmouth County was one of the 9 counties in the state of New Jersey to receive CARES Act funding from the federal government, and they allocated $10 million of that money to be available for business owners in Monmouth County. And they came up with a pretty rigorous, quick turnaround plan. We were all anxious to hear the plan, and I would just like to thank Mr. Straub and his collaborative efforts. We found out the information and the details on a Wednesday afternoon, and we had to get that information disseminated to 316 businesses for them to have it to be ready to apply by Monday morning. So we had a 4-day turnaround time, and we hit every single type of communication out to those businesses that we could. From the borough's end, we mailed out 316 hard copy letters to the businesses. Jack sent an email to the businesses that we have emails for. I do want to make a note in case anyone hears a lot of background noise of sirens. It's a celebration parade for a baseball team. Sorry for the background noise, but I do not have the breakdown yet of how many businesses in Keyport applied or received grants out of that yet. But I can tell you within 10 days of administering the application going live, they did, the county did issue 750 awards in that grant process. So I'd look forward to seeing how many of those businesses were in Keyport. But it was definitely a huge manpower, get boots on the ground. I delivered hard copies to many of the businesses as well as Jack Straub. And as I said, we did an email blast, we put it on social media. So we got it out every which way we could, and hopefully a lot of businesses will be able to take advantage of that. And that was up for a $10,000 grant per business. So hopefully that helps a lot of our struggling businesses in our community. And those are my updates for now. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda. The members of council have any items to discuss on the count, or comments or questions on anything on the consent agenda? If you do, just make sure you unmute yourself for the members of council. Okay, I would like to thank Chief Hafner and Captain Torres for having Plan B and Plan C in place, for being able to quickly get Resolution 22820 as a plan, as a backup plan. So that was good work on all their parts. Okay, so if we don't have any further commentary, can I please have a motion to approve items 101-20 through R230-20?
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have a roll call, please, Michelle?
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco, Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, I can now. Thank you. And Councilmember Sheridan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Cooper, can you hear me?
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have the public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Ordinance number 8-20, appropriating funds for improvements to the senior center. If you'd like to read that by title, please.
Ordinance 8-20 is an ordinance appropriating the sum of $40,000 currently located within the Capital Improvement Fund of the Borough of Keyport for improvements to the senior center.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion to open to the public?
Motion open public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go through a video. People on video first. If you want to raise your hand, if you would like to speak on ordinance 8-20. Any members of the public wish to speak on ordinance 8-20 that are on video? Any members of the public that want to speak that are on the phone, please make sure you unmute yourself and we'll try and go in order if anyone wishes to speak. Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times for the public. Can I please have a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I please have a motion to adopt ordinance 8-20?
Move it.
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have a roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilmember Sheridan,
Yes.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. Thank you. Motion, ordinance passes. Next, we have communications by consent. We have items 1 through 9 for approval and 10 through 20 to receive and file. Just want to make sure that the council we received very late today, more information for item number 9 about what they're wishing to do, both by placing 99 purple flags. And did everyone receive that late this afternoon? I had received it and we tried to get it out to you guys as soon as we could. Council members, did you all receive that?
Yes.
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 Okay. So I just want to make sure when you're voting on that, if you have any, or does anyone have any questions on where these are going to be placed?
Yes, I have questions with just where this is being placed. I don't know who that
Okay.
is that.
Councilwoman Pacheco, can you give an update on that?
I was just made aware of this around the same time you were, Mayor, so I will review my emails to see where that location is.
Do you want to make a recommendation of where it goes, and then you can let Barbara know?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. We can discuss that now, though.
Okay.
My only concern is I don't want this where it's going to cause a lot of holes and damage to our grass. That's all. Okay, that's all.
Doesn't
That's my
look
only
like
point.
these are the kind of things that would cause a lot of damage to the grass.
I know. I just, that's all. We spend a lot of money, like at the waterfront and stuff on that. So.
We should also just keep in mind of the landscaper, how long, I forget the dates that they said that they're going to leave these up. I know we're getting it now. Other municipalities already have this up and running. I'm not sure why we're getting it today, but I don't know where else other than, there was no time to reach out to the school to see if we could have lined Broad Street with it, over by the schools. So obviously we don't have a choice to use school property at this point. So I don't know where else, anyone else, any other ideas of where people might want this to be, unless I would even suggest the library property, but the whole front of that's going to be under construction shortly also, where they redo the stairs. So where would you recommend, Councilwoman Pacheco?
The waterfront would be a good spot for it. I don't have the same concerns about the grass being ruined. We've put other things down there before. We've certainly dragged tables out onto that grass before. So that would be my.
How about around the flagpole below the stage?
That's a good spot.
How about if we did that whole square right there in between the two little parking lots and where the flagpole is, right between the stage and American Legion Drive?
That's a good spot. I'm okay with that. That's a good idea.
Any council members opposed to that? Okay. So would you mind just following up with Barbara and communicating that?
Absolutely. I'm going to text her right now, just so we can get the ball rolling.
That's not near where we put the movie nights, right? I just want to confirm that. Sorry.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so does anyone have any other further commentary on communication?
Yes, Mayor, I had a
One.
question about number one.
Mhm.
Was there any discussion on social distancing of that?
For their social affair permit,
Correct.
they'll have to adhere to whatever the state requirements are at that point as well.
Okay.
I don't even believe they can have anything inside yet, so it would have to be, outside, all of, the only thing is if they're having a drink, it's just like any outdoor dining right now, they're not gonna have a mask, that's up to them.
Okay, I just didn't see
So-
any in that literature about that, so, okay.
If you want, when we motion, you can say, conditional to, whatever the state guidelines are at that point. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute, Joe.
Yeah, it's not necessary to do that, because then we would do that. That's a disclaimer on everything that we pass tonight. It COVID-19 rules, and we just have to deal with it.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised that I didn't see anything in their literature when they were talking about this.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
No problem. And then I just want to point out that along those lines, we're canceling the 5K for recreation, but we're asking for an event for the skate park. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we're canceling one, but adding one type of event. I'm not really quite sure what the plans are as far as crowd control for that event, or if they're asking for Butler Street to be closed. Councilwoman McDermott, do you have more information? We could talk about it at the September 1st meeting maybe, but technically this is, on here for now, so.
So the intention was not to have street closures. It would happen mostly in the front area, not actually in the skateboarding park. I'll have more details for you September meeting. But the intention is we'll be following social distancing and everything else that comes into play with that.
Okay, so my suggestion would be if, you know, even if things, you know, who knows what's going to happen. If there's a resurgence, things could, you know, close back down and hopefully not. But obviously it's going to be the same thing like Councilman Sheridan just said. It's going to be conditional to what the current state restrictions are. But I would suggest that Butler Street be closed for this event just because you don't want through traffic cutting through there at that point. So,
So do you want me to do this now as a motion, or do we wait for the full plan?
That would be my suggestion. I don't know if the whole council agrees, but that's just my example. That's just my suggestion on that one. Does anyone else have any questions or commentary on items 1 through 20?
Okay, thanks. I apologize. That was my father.
Mayor, just a quick question. On the $3,000 for the I guess moving. I'm assuming that we budgeted for just moving this around. I mean, because we don't have we budgeted for this. I think that's a somewhat fair question. It's kind of to Joe. Joe, we do have money in a recreation budget. I don't think we totally omitted it.
Right. Recreation's been not spending money because of COVID-19. And that's how
we're not bringing money in either though, because we didn't do any fundraising, but I, you know, I think this was part of the long-term plan. Sorry to interrupt you, Councilman.
I just want to make sure that, and I think Joe is the finance chair. We did budget for money to the recreation committee. So this is nothing more than just switching within the same grouping.
Also, I will point out that I did have someone reach out to me, the new marketing coordinator from Bayshore Hospital that was looking to sponsor the 5K actually. So since that's been canceled, I have deferred her to Mr. Delaney to see what she was willing to sponsor, and maybe she can help sponsor and offset some of that $3,000 from the hospital. Okay. So no other commentary on 1 through 20, correct? Okay, can I please have a motion to approve and or receive and file items 1 through 20?
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have a roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes. How exciting that there's so many on here. So it's approval of minutes, July 21st, 2020, July 9th, 2020, June 30th, 2020, June 25th, 2020, June 11th, 2020, June 20th, 2020, May 20th, 2020, October 24th, 2019, October 1st, 2019, September 23rd, 2019, and September 3rd, 2019. Can I please have a motion to approve the sets of minutes? I don't know if you're going to have to abstain from any if you weren't there at any of those.
I motion.
Yeah, I only saw Isaiah absent October 24th. That's a special meeting. And I do want to thank Michelle for all this work. It's a healthy amount of work. Good job, Michelle. Thank you.
This is also, it was the way we're breaking in Patty Olson into her new position.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Okay, so I believe we had a motion, right? So a second? So can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Yes.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Sheridan.
I'm gonna vote yes, and I'm gonna, on behalf of Mr. Cooper, well, he's not voting, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have the reports of the departments. Michelle, would you like to read those, please?
Report number 1 is the municipal clerk's report for July 2020. Report number 2 is the tax water sewer collector's report for July 2020. Report number 3 is the Board of Health Treasurer's report for July 2020. Report number 4 is the building department monthly report for July 2020. And report number 5 is the municipal court monthly report for July 2020. And report number 6 is the Clean Communities report for July 16th through August 10th, 2020.
Motion.
Second.
Sorry, my phone wouldn't unmute. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or no? Thank you. For matter of time for the people that are on, I would like to switch unfinished business to before new business, since we have people on that would like to speak about Ann Barrack. So first, I will segue this to Councilwoman Pacheco to give an intro on what this is about this evening, and then people that would like to speak can do so, unless anyone's opposed to changing the order of the agenda. Okay, Councilwoman Pacheco, you have the floor.
Well, and please, if the Ann Barrack folks can jump in and correct me at any point. So we had gotten a request, a little while ago now. Ann Barrack is a company who has been, I believe, renting the Olson's property with the intent to buy it. Their original plan was to bring power off our grid and into Long Island. This is where I'm going to get the details wrong. That bid did not come to fruition. They are now making a new bid to use the same piece of property to bring wind power, offshore wind power, into the grid towards New Jersey. What they've actually only asked us for at this point is a recognition that they've told us that they're putting in for the bid, since the property, is in Keyport. I have asked them here today because I know that there's questions on the council about the new project, about the particulars of it, something certainly I can't speak to because I'm not well versed in that kind of stuff. And that's the entrance. So I just want to leave it to the experts now. If anybody has any questions for them.
Yeah, hi, this is John Valeri from CSG Law, and we're certainly here to answer any of your questions. I also have Jason Ringler, who is our environmental engineering consultant, who will also going to answer questions. Just to add on the councilwoman's remarks, this is a project that is the same path as what had been permitted in the past, all the way up into through Sandy Hook. What we are looking to get from Keyport is a upland owner approval for the Tidelands application that needs to be filed for a certain portion of the area off the Olson Marine, that where the path of the transmission line would go. And that is an area where technically the township is the owner of the upland property. So that's what we were looking to get approval, so we can submit that to the New Jersey DEP Bureau of Tidelands for approval.
And this is part of your bid process, correct? So nothing is slated to happen just yet. You haven't even approved the bid yet. I know that there's been concerns about, public input and things like that. And I just wanted to confirm that there'll still be an opportunity to do that.
There are multiple other permitting processes that we need to go through, notably for the purpose of this line. We have permits already for the upland portion going all the way to the Dean substation in Middlesex County. However, the permit that we have going off Olson Marine and really from the point of Sandy Hook on needs to be amended because, as you mentioned, Councilwoman, the purpose of this project has changed from delivering renewable energy as part of a bid project that came from PSE&G Long Island to being part of a backbone transmission project that is being proposed by Ann Barrack and subject to a variety of approval processes, including that from the federal government as well as potentially from the Board of Public Utilities, since the statutes have been amended to recognize the importance and potential need for backbone transmission. So there are other You are correct. There are other approval processes that are involved in this where certainly the town will be informed and will be part of the process.
Thank you.
Mr. Valeri, or I guess whoever, or Mr. Ringler, when this first came a couple years ago with Ann Barrett, there were certain, I guess, promises that were made to the borough in terms of if this was going to go through, certain construction and all of that. Is the same, I guess, I'll call it the agreement from Ann Barrett's point of view still valid? There's not changing your minds, I guess.
As far as our commitments to the town, the answer is no, nothing has changed.
Thank you.
Mr. Valeri, are there any timelines? Are there any milestones? I know there's a lot of prep work, and but is there any, long-term schedules? What are we looking at for a timeline?
So I guess I would answer it like this. There is already, as you folks are probably aware, take a step back, the governor has proposed up to 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind in tranches of bids for offshore renewable energy credits, also known as ORECs. Those of you who may be familiar, Ørsted won the first bid. There are likely going to be several other bids as well. In addition, there is a permitting process going on right now that Jason can speak to in more detail to the extent you need it regarding offshore wind area leases beyond the New Jersey state water borders. So to talk in terms of timeline, there's not a deadline, but there certainly are steps that we're trying to accomplish our permitting so that when the final approvals come to construct, we are in a position to provide the backbone transmission that needs to be provided in order to transmit that wind to the state of New Jersey. Right now, we're looking at offshore wind being constructed, I think, starting next year. I don't want to be quoted on that because that's a particular project, but there are also other tranches coming. And the part about offshore wind permitting, particularly when it comes to transmission, is that there's obviously the federal government and its leasing area. There's the federal government in the form of the Army Corps with its permitting, and the state of New Jersey with respect to all of its land use permitting, which included wetlands and upland waterfront development permits. We're obviously applying for a waterfront development permit in the water to change the path in the water, but we also need tidelands right. So all of this needs to occur, and we need to try to get that application in soon. And we're hoping that we are available when the additional tranches come out, and Barrick is in a position to have its boardwalk project ready to transmit that power.
Thank you.
Mr. Valeri, Mike Lane, the citizen, has expressed he asked a question about the DC power transmission being converted to AC. That's going to happen somewhere in Middlesex County, isn't it? You're going to run a DC cable through Keyport, and it's not going to be there's not going to be any conversion to AC here in Keyport at all.
That's correct. That converter station is in South Brunswick.
And that's where it was initially, was it not? When we were going to go the other way. So
that's
again,
correct.
So again, nothing really has changed from a design perspective. It's just that the direction of the power is opposite, basically.
That's correct. That's correct.
And the only approval you need from us, and I could be wrong about this at this point, is that you're basically notifying us. Are you basically notifying us that you're going through this process? It's sort of it's a legal accommodation, so to speak. I don't know how else to describe it. Do we need to approve it, or is it?
There is a signature we're going to need on an application for a Tidelands grant in that area off the shoreline of Keyport, that where the municipality is the upland property owner. It's a point far out into the It's into the water. It's not adjacent on the water, but because technically the parallel adjacent property is owned by Keyport, we need your signature to at least allow us to go ahead and apply for the Tidelands grant.
Mr. Valeri, when a citizen might request documents, there was valid concern, obviously, about relinquishing proprietary information from Embark to the public forum. Is there any way that you'll be able to do a non-proprietary drawing, so to speak, of the map, or are there any documents available that you might be able to share that would help people like Mr. Lane understand what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think the Tidelands map itself, where we're going through, is something that can be shared. I think it was shared, and certainly that once we file the Tidelands application, that is a public application and ultimately a public document. But that's not the issue from our perspective. Is the perspective that everything that's been submitted to the town, everything, strike that. There are portions of what's been submitted to the town that certainly were in draft. They're certainly getting finalized, and to the extent in certain minimal areas they may have some areas that are being changed. Certainly not the path, but certainly language or whatever. We want to make sure that whatever is presented is our application. Right. Certainly on the Tidelands grant itself, the area is the area that we're looking for. That does not change. Okay,
thanks for that. And then finally, initially, Embark had close conversations with the yacht club, the Keyport Yacht Club, with regard to the mooring field. And my understanding is that the agreements or the discussions that were established back when it was first, when you were discussing transmitting power, are still valid today with some minor exceptions. Can you speak to that and the conversations you've had with the yacht club?
Yeah, I wish I could. I have not been involved in those particular discussions with the yacht club. Unfortunately, the people who are just not available this evening. I do not believe anything fundamentally has changed between, in fact, it has not changed between how the project was proposed in 2017 up to and through the yacht club into the water versus today. As far as individual conversations, I've not been involved with those, so I couldn't comment on them because it wouldn't be fair.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
No problem.
So I have a couple questions. Thank you for being on here tonight, Councilman Pacheco. Thanks for arranging this for this evening. As you know, it's been a quite interesting year. We had originally hoped to have you in person, but here we are a few months after that point, and we're virtual. So we also have a new borough administrator compared to when the first letter came forward from Councilwoman Pacheco asking for either he or I to sign that document. Obviously, I had reservations at that point, being that we had not heard from Embark for 3 years since 2017, as you mentioned, when that project was nixed by the state. We have different governing body members on the dais at this point who were not familiar with that. So out of fairness and respect to them, it was appropriate that conversations and information be forwarded to them. In addition to, obviously, you know, the Bay is part of the heart and soul of Keyport, right? So I wanted this to be vetted to the Harbor Commission, which I directed it to be, and as well as the Environmental Commission. So you guys met with them yet and had approvals from them on this whole thing? Because I know you're saying that it's an acknowledgement, but the form that I received was there was an acknowledgement and an approval. So having the word approval on there was a huge hesitation on my part. And Mr. Delaney has not been privy to this new information, so I definitely will want him to be caught up to speed on this whole project as well. And then my other point of clarification is the original project was that you were going out of Olson property, and that's why you leased that property for a while. But my understanding is now it's going to be going out of the new park, as opposed to a different lot and block than the original proposal. So have the adjoining property owners been notified? So those were my questions, and I'm not sure. I'll defer to Councilman Pacheco and Councilman Tatopoulos if this has been vetted and with a letter of support from Harbor Commission and Environmental.
Mayor, when did you ask for a letter?
We spoke.
I had asked Council. Pacheco if if you deferred it to the committee.
We did speak about it in the
Yeah.
Harbor Commission, but we were never told we needed some sort of formal letter from either commission.
Well,
Right.
do you have their support though? I mean, have you guys talked about this new plan? Are they aware? Because when that whole thing came to me, they hadn't heard about this. So
When who would come to you?
when Tom received the thing to sign,
I'm at,
what did you say?
I said when I
ahead.
forwarded email,
When you forwarded the email to Mr. Henshaw,
right?
and then I had suggested that Harbor Commission Environmental be consulted on this new project.
We have had
Have
those,
they been brought up to speed?
yeah, we had those conversations in, when did this come up? March, April? I don't even remember now.
The
And as well as
environmental,
environmental?
the Environmental Commission has been historically supportive of this plan. But I'm not
But
going to
this is a
say,
new
I'm not going to say
plan.
that we didn't, what was that?
This is a new plan, so that's what I'm asking. Are they aware of the new plan?
This is a new plan with regards to what? It's not, you mentioned it's not going through Olson's again?
No, the lot and block, from my understanding, is that it's now going out of Benjamin Terry. Am I incorrect, Mr. Valeri?
Yeah, that's incorrect. It's going through Olson.
Yep.
Mr. Valeri, where is the
That's
new
right,
line going out of?
it's going through Olson Marina.
My understanding is the approval only came to us because we have a lot adjacent to that.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what the confusion's coming from. Okay, so let me try to explain that. And I do wish I had a map in front of you, so I apologize, I do not. But within the water, there is a area which is parallel to a lot and block that is owned by the town. In many cases where our line is passing through, there had been historic grants by the state of New Jersey of titlelands rights. So the state of New Jersey does not have to grant us, strike that, we do not have to ask for titlelands rights because they have already been granted. In that one particular case, there is no offshore tideland grant that was previously granted to an upland property owner. And so we need titlelands rights. That upland property owner is the town, and that's why we're asking for the signature. That doesn't change the path. It's just simply something, quite frankly, that wasn't identified back in 2017 when the initial applications went through for titlelands. And when we went back to the state, that was an area identified as not having been previously granted, therefore requiring a titlelands grant, and therefore requiring the upland owner to sign, that upland owner being the key port. So the path has not changed.
John, if I
Thank you
may,
for clarifying.
hi, good evening, Jason Ringler with ESS. The lot that John is referring to is Block 94, Lot 45.
And that's part of the park.
That's correct.
So
that's right.
So, Mr. Valeri, Mr. Ringler, what's the timeline on this? When do you need this signature?
We're looking for it, we'd like to submit our application to the DEP within the next several weeks if we could. That's why I think our goal is to get, as we do need to get signatures from upland property owners, including Keyport. So that's what we're asking for.
So by the first week in, if we're looking for formal approval from the commissions, then that should happen within the next 2.5 weeks. Is that okay?
And we obviously, we will take, we certainly, yes, that is okay in the sense that we need it. So we would love to have it tonight. We know that's not going to happen. So if it's going to come the next 2.5 weeks, we'd be thrilled to get it approved and have a signature on the titlelands application so we can submit it.
Mayor, is that a good solution? We'll have both commissions vetted by then. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna approve it, but I don't know if the commissions have right of refusal, but certainly they have input. I'm not sure.
We'll get.
I don't know that they have right of refusal either, but I just wanted to make sure, like, it's all about transparency and, open communication. So I just want to make sure all you guys on the governing body, Deus had information, as well as Councilman Sheridan is the finance chair, because there was a financial setback to this project 3 years ago that was pretty significant to the borough, as Councilman Good has pointed out. So I just wanted all of the different areas so no one could say I didn't know about it or what have you. So I know Mr. Moon also, you had reviewed some of this as well. Do you have any commentary, Mr. Moon?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Valeri, I mean, my understanding is just even looking at the form right now, all you're looking for the borough to do is basically acknowledge and consent that you are applying for a tithing license.
That's
We're not,
correct.
and it's only because we happen to own that lot of property.
That's
So
correct.
we're not granting any formal plan. We're not granting any formal proposal. All of that stuff is done later on when you actually have a proposal in place.
Right, and we have to go through our permitting, we go through our permitting. This is simply for the titles, right?
And that will be the moment where the public and committees like the harbor, commissions like the harbor, the environmental commission can ask questions. That's the
We're on the
moment.
same page. Yeah, we're on the same page. So maybe what we can do is approve it now, this aspect of it, and then include the commissions later on when we have a firm idea of what the plan actually is moving forward. I think, thank you, Mark. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Mayor?
My understanding is the form had originally said that we needed to acknowledge.
Can't hear you.
You're on mute, Mayor.
Cannot hear you.
Say that.
Nope.
We couldn't hear you. You're on mute.
No, I'm not, and my headset's not working. So I'm gonna have.
Your icon says you're on mute.
You're muffled.
So I'm gonna have to talk to you through my phone. So I'm not on a personal phone call. That's the only way I'm gonna get sound in this right now. What was I going to say? Mr. Moon, you said you have the document in front of you. My understanding was that the document said acknowledge and approve. So approve is where the whole thing is where everything was questionable. So
the word. So I can read it right now. So it says the Borough of Keyport is the current fee owner of property designated as Block 94, Lot 45, as shown on the tax map of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey. Paragraph 2. I am aware that Boardwalk Power Link LLC is applying for a tie-in license from the State of New Jersey to construct and operate an electric transmission line in riparian areas owned by the State of New Jersey and that are adjacent to the property. Paragraph 3. Owner grants the Boardwalk Power Link LLC consent to apply for and obtain a tie-in license to riparian areas owned by the State of New Jersey adjacent to the property. So it's just about the application. Or consenting that they're applying for the tie-in license.
We're consenting and approving to them applying.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Councilman, good, your thoughts? Do you want to read this and wait till September 1st?
No, I read it originally, Mayor. I understood the hesitancy, but I concur with Mr. Moon's reading of it. It's really just we approve of the application after whether or not it's granted by the state. Again, not up to us, but if it's ultimately granted and construction comes to fruition, then I certainly expect to hear from Mr. Valeri and Mr. Ringler when they come and want permits for anything, or to just even really any other construction purpose to go through. They're going to be back and open to the public for questions. This was just they need permission to submit an application to the state. Personally, I think the state kind of crazy just for asking for permission to submit an application, but we can't really ignore that. So I was okay.
Mr. Delaney, do you have any questions? Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry. Okay.
Good. Thank
Mr. Delaney, do you have any questions?
The only questions I have are more to do, I would call them somewhat technical in the sense that the municipal property extends to the high water line, I presume, and you're looking for you're seeking or will be seeking approval from the state for a tideland riparian grant for the use of the bed of the waterway that extends beyond the town's high water mark. My
Correct.
question is really, how far offshore is the extent of your application for the grant? Is it an exclusive grant that you're requesting? And how far offshore will do you expect the cable to actually be installed?
So I'm going to let Jason answer some of the technical questions. It is a license. It is not a grant. We are not being granted property, fee simple property rights. These
So
are
they would be annual license fee paid to the state?
They're annual. We
for
have
the
to pay
use of-
annual, like the fees that we have to pay to the state of New Jersey. Jason, maybe you can answer some of the technical questions of where the property's the license area is located vis-a-vis the township's property.
Sure. So I think when we made our presentation, if it was back in May, we provided the draft Tidelands plans. And I believe it was on sheet 4 of that presentation. It's at a distance of roughly 1,500 feet seaward of mean high water. The width of the proposed, it's going to be about 20 feet by 135 feet. So we're looking for about 2,300 square feet for which we're seeking the license. So it's significant distance offshore below the mean high water mark.
And just to clarify, you're not seeking the license would not extend to be directly adjacent to the upland area, but rather offshore only for that distance of, I believe you said 20 feet in width for a distance of 130 feet. Did I understand that correctly?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Do any other council members have any commentary or questions?
I guess my perspective, I would really love the endorsement from the two organizations that do most of our waterfront project work and very familiar with it before we approve anything.
So I was on board with you originally, but now that Mr. Moon has clarified and Councilman Good and Jay are clarifying that these are really more of a fee simple and easement type of things as opposed to approvals for the plans. Am I understanding this all correctly, everyone? That I think we just go ahead and sign this. Unless we can even, is there any council objection? We can go to vote if you want.
I don't know. I guess the mayor, I'll make a motion to,
Sorry, Councilman Good, hold on one second. You repeat that?
Yes, I was going to say, Mayor, that if I'll make a motion to approve the so that somebody sign off on them submitting their application.
I missed the beginning part of that, so I guess Michelle, you heard that for the recording, right? Okay, great.
Just
go ahead.
Making a motion,
Okay,
Mayor.
to sign it. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm having headset issues. Can I have a roll call, please, Michelle? The Councilmember Pacheco just seconded it, I believe.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm having issues too with my computer.
Yes, thank you.
So let's do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes.
and Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Okay, so we will have those forms signed and sent over to you, Mr. Valeri.
Right. And to the mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for your consideration. We appreciate it.
And I hope you understand the wise point of clarification. Obviously, if we all met in person back when a couple months ago, this all would have been different, but it transpired the way it did just due to timing and everything else.
Absolutely. We look forward to working with you on our application as it goes forward.
And John, one thing I would like to put in, if I may, is when we prepare and submit the applications to the New Jersey DEP, they will be sent to the borough as required pursuant to New Jersey DEP regulations. So, I think the borough can expect those, and we will be in contact with the Environmental Council and the Harbor Commission.
Also, can you forward the documents that can be made public or label them to our administrator, please?
Sure.
And this way, if members of the public want to open those documents, they can.
Yes.
Thank you.
Here.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to new business. I am going to ask that we table the borough property usage agreement to the next meeting. Just because as we've already noted through this meeting multiple times, we've had several emergencies come up in the borough, and that has definitely had to take a back burner for a little bit, but it should be ready hopefully for the September 1st meeting. In regards to the parking committee, I received an email from Councilman Tatopoulos with his goals for this. They didn't really align with what I had in mind, but if Councilman Tatopoulos wants to talk about this and see what everyone else has in mind for a parking committee, or do you want to table this to the next meeting?
I could, either way is fine with me, Mayor. If you want to talk about it, then we can come to consensus and then bring it to the next meeting. That would be fine.
Okay.
Or I can bring it up now. It's your pleasure.
If you want to outline what your thoughts were, and then you and I can talk after during the week, but that way we get the conversation started.
So the committee in and of itself, I'm hoping would be a smaller committee that would work in, provide input actually to the existing Complete Streets committee effort. We would have a chair, and I have my thoughts. I'm not going to name names, but I have my thoughts on who that should be, who the chair should be, and it would be facilitated by the borough administrator. The members of the committee would be representative of the businesses in town, especially in the downtown area where parking is perceivably the issue, and members of, a member of the public, and one or two members of council, which could include the mayor. The small committee will facilitate a good deal of discussion, especially given the experience of the member who I hope would be the chair. And we could already use the professionals that we have right now at on the Complete Streets effort to provide input for the committee. We can't afford right now, this is my perception, my understanding is we can't afford a parking consultant right now until the end of the year. We haven't budgeted for that. So having a committee now, which I actually didn't agree with at first, right, Mayor? But after some discussion and some feedback, having a committee right now could very well be very beneficial. And it will also provide a lot of data, or hopefully a good deal of data, to a parking consultant when we finally do bring someone on board, and perhaps reduce the time we need them based on the amount of data that we have already collected by way of the Complete Streets, the grant we have for the Complete Streets, the input from the public, the business and the business environment, and the business community, and council. And that is pretty much it. So, we can talk about that, and we can bring it to next meeting if you'd like, or we can talk about it now. Either way is fine.
Councilman, if I may, I do want to remind you as well that a parking commission was also part of the NPP program application that the borough had submitted to the DCA. So, it's made sort of tie hand in hand, and you may be, by moving forward on this, this might be something that we can sort of include in our statuses with the DCA as part of our efforts towards reaching some of those goals that we expressed in there.
Perfect. And I'm cautioning against the use of the word commission. Yeah, just for formation purposes, because the commission serves as a much more official role. And I would see us starting this committee out as sort of an ad hoc committee, which has a terminus. And if at that point we establish that we do need a commission, then we would do that. But yeah, that's just my thinking based on my experience and research in other municipalities.
So thank you, Councilman Fotopoulos. When I had put this on the agenda for the last meeting, as you know, I had a family emergency and didn't really get to focus on it as much as I had hoped to prior to that meeting. And then, as I've said, we've had several more emergencies in the town. So my intention of putting that on was really to do a summary also of our parking ordinances that already exist in town, and clean them up, because nothing is consistent. Where you could park at one part and where you could park at another part, the timing doesn't match, the street sweeper doesn't match. You could park from 6 to 8, you can't park from 6 to 8. Is it Tuesday through Friday? Does the dash mean and? Does the dash mean through? When we allocated all the waterfront parking like late fall last year, as well as the parking time for the 9 spaces over on Myrtle, more technically east front. I had asked for the timing to be the same as all the other signages, and that's not what occurred. So it was also to, I know Andrew Kelsey has made several recommendations of different types of parking studies and so forth. But it was actually hoping to bring in the members of the circulation committee from the master plan, because I know they had a lot of valuable input as well. And as you said, members of the council. So as far as bringing in a parking consultant, I guess when I saw your email, that's where I got a little confused. Because if we're going to hire a consultant, then we might as well wait till we hire a consultant. I'd hate to see the volunteers put all this time in and then a consultant comes in and goes completely different. Like I would say we would do one or the other. I don't know that we should do both, I guess.
That's funny, because that was my argument. That was my argument last month. was that why would we do that if we have to wait for a consultant? And the input from Adam Texa, from the Complete Streets project manager, when he and I talked about it, was that the valuable information and data that we gather as a small group will be invaluable to a parking consultant when they do get on board. And it's actually going to, by the nature of having that much data to present to them, and our own assessments, and in some cases professional assessments, that parking consultant won't be needed for as long, so it won't cost as much. And the Complete Streets effort is paid for. The volunteers, and since you brought him up, Andrew Kelsey is the one who I had in mind. His study is based on empirical data, based on some studies that have been crafted by the renowned parking guru in the country, and it's gleaned some interesting points of view that deserve examination, both by Complete Streets and by the public and the business community. Complete Streets is going to do it anyway, and I think that when I asked Mr. Texa about whether or not we should do this, his resounding yes and the reasons why convinced me. I'm in agreement. I was in agreement with you last month. If we had talked about this last month, we would have been in agreement about it. But I'm thinking that this is an opportunity to use some use the minds of the consultants that we have and also Mr. Kelsey's studies, and sort of synergize those, synthesize those, we'll have some real valuable inputs for the parking consultant when she finally comes. That's my thought.
I know, right, Councilwoman Pacheco and I both moved Andrew Kelsey's name forward last August to be the start of the parking committee, and it never moved forward. So that's why I didn't mind mentioning that name, but I guess the confusion still comes up to, and as Councilman Good just said, the if. I think we definitely could use a volunteer group to do some self-study and self-cleanup, so to speak, of the all over the place, because it's not really fair to our police either, as far as enforcement, because half the time you can't figure out where you can park and can't park, or what time you have to move your car, or can you have a second beer at McDonald's, but if you're parked here, you can. If you go over there, you can't. As well as the employee parking, which that was all designated and is spelled to the wayside too, and all of a sudden people just started getting decals to park on West Front Street again. There's a designated employee parking lot that's not being utilized off Main Street that I've walked there and driven there every Saturday night for the last 5 weeks straight, and there's maybe 3 cars parked in there. So, signage, as well as, the Division Street is now paved. So we should be utilizing that parking lot. Before, we didn't really advertise it too much because it was a safety issue to direct people to that parking lot. And where we could have better signage to direct where we have our already existing parking. I think we have the same agreement. I just don't know that we're all in agreement that we're going to be hiring a parking consultant anytime soon in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, right. No parking consultant now, for sure. We can't afford it.
Right.
Can I interject here? I'm sorry if everybody, I don't want to interrupt. It seems that we're trying, to me, and again, I haven't really gotten to the weeds with this, but it seems that Councilman Zotopoulos, you're talking about a committee dealing with trying to deal with our parking issue in and of itself.
Right, holistically and not reactively, more along the lines of proactively, yes.
Right, and it seems, Mayor, that you are on the patchwork of our signage, ordinances, that kind of stuff. So it seems that we're not all on the same page for what this parking committee, if it is going to be brought into being, what its purpose was. So and again, I'm not sure either which one we're either doing or trying to do. So, but I'd like to know really kind of what the idea of the parking committee, what you expect the purposes and the goals would be. And if, we could get like just a email or something that says, the parking committee does this.
Right. That was what I had intended to do, and I had asked for it to be tabled, but Councilman Patapoulos took it to the consultant, and he gave this whole draft of what he was proposing, which was not in line with what I had. So that doesn't make his wrong. So I wanted to give him the chance tonight to talk about what he wanted. So in either way, as I said, with everything that's on everyone's plate right now in the middle of a pandemic, it's not at the heightened escalation point, but just so that we can all have discussion or hear what you think about parking, as opposed to just going back and forth in emails with 3 people. I think it's worth all 7 having a dialogue.
I think that's fair, at least now, I think. And I don't, Dennis, if you could forward, I guess, that proposal. And again, I apologize if you already did, because then,
no, I didn't. I only sent it to the council president and the mayor and Councilwoman Pacheco.
Okay, because I definitely see, at least from the mayor's point of view, I agree. So there's many issues with regard to our borough code.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be patchwork in nature. That I would love to just take 6-7 years to clean up. but since we don't have that much time, but with regard to the parking
No, but we
committee,
can work on
I'm sorry, Joe, what was that?
we could work on the scope.
So that I think would be at least a good starting point. So then we at least know what we're doing. But I think no matter what, trying to get our borough code in order is definitely somewhat necessary, at least to keep going forward. But I wasn't sure if that's what we were talking about with the parking committee or not. Thank you.
When I put it on the agenda, that's what I had intended, to have something circulated to you guys prior to that council meeting and to discuss it. But as you know, that didn't happen. So in the meantime, other conversations happened. So I think we're all in agreement that to cleaning up code is a unanimous thing to move forward on. So, and then we can take the other steps down the road.
No, we're not unanimous on that. Cleaning up code is a product of what I was suggesting, just so you guys know. It'll be a product of that. Cleaning up the code will only delay what we're trying to accomplish while we have complete streets here. Because they're going to move forward with this anyway. They're going to adjust some parking issues anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean,
No, they're going to suggest parking conditions. They're not going to do anything. They're consultants. Right. So you guys are going to decide. They are not going to decide. So, you know, the whole governing body will be deciding. So I think starting to review what we already have on the books is imperative all the way around before we come back with, you know, so, okay. So, all right. Anyone else have any other new business or unfinished business? Okay. Can we move on to attorney's report?
Nothing new to report. Things seem to be moving a little smoothly, so I think we're in good shape.
Next, we will move on to a motion to open to the public for 5 minutes per person.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, who seconded, please?
I did.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have one person raising their hand, Mr. Kelsey.
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. First, on the topic of parking, real quick, I don't know specifically what Councilman Fotopoulos has suggested in his proposal, but I don't think, Mayor, what you want to do, and probably what Dennis would like to do, is mutually exclusive. You can't, everything with parking relies on everything else with parking. You can't do one thing and not address the other. So I'm definitely in favor of looking at everything, more than just the downtown. It would be nice to maybe try to come up with solutions for the residential areas that have parking issues as well. But certainly complete streets and the NPP have, they have it on their agenda to deal with. We got to get a group of people together and start working it out. It's just, with those two projects, it's got to be done. Otherwise, we're going to be, two different sets of people wanting two different things. We need something cohesive. So that's my thoughts on that. And then on a different topic, I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year when New Jersey Natural Gas came through and put in new gas mains in my neighborhood on St. Peter's. They left a heck of a mess in the street, a lot of debris. And my expectation was that they'd probably come in and repave. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but certainly there's a lot of sand and dirt in the street that's been left behind, and it'd be nice to know when that's going to get handled. That's all I have. Thank you.
So that agreement, I believe they are supposed to repave half of the roadway when they do that. I just don't know when they're going to, but if we can reach out to Trevor to see what the estimated timeline on that is, please, Jay. Thank you. Once we have that answer, we'll let you know. Mr.
Okay,
Kelsey.
thank you.
It'll be similar to what they just did to Van Dorn, where they repave half of it, where they dug up, the side they dug up. Anyone else on video have anything before we move to phone call? keep your hand up because we still have two screens, Michelle, or are we down to just the one screen? Okay. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? If you're on the video, please raise your hand. Okay, we'll move to anyone on the phone lines. Anyone on the phone lines wish to speak?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lane.
Okay, just real quick. It was good to hear the Embarrack plan, that they plan to use the DC pipe through the borough. And up to now, that hadn't been confirmed at either the Harbor Commission meeting or the Environmental Commission meeting. One thing you may want to think about is when we got the permits for the bulkhead, we had to notify all the residents within 200 feet of the properties. And you might want to think about putting an informational package together for those residents within 200 feet, because they may be surprised when they get an official notice from the Embarrack. The discussion about a location of the Beach Park shed at Consolidated, point out a couple things. Consolidated, most of the property at Consolidated is in a special flood hazard area. And that you'd have to make arrangements for anchoring that shed at that location. And it's across the street from our house, so I'm very sensitive to it. My neighbors were also very sensitive to the tents at across the street, and we were taking bets on who would get the tents in their yards. Fortunately, the wind didn't blow that hard. In preparation for the next storm, there's a couple of huge logs on the beach at Veterans Park. It's probably 10 feet long, probably about 3 or 4 feet in diameter. There's one further up just on the east side of Cedar Street Park. It's probably 15, 18 feet long, 3 feet in diameter. Mayor Kennedy, I think you're aware of the amount of damage that was done to one of the First Street homes by a log that went through the wall. So the borough really needs, the borough DPW really needs to get out there and get those logs off the beach. Also, there was a team from the Harbor Commission that did a walking survey of AeroMarine to try to determine where those logs are coming from. And the report that I got from the members who did that walking survey, and Dennis, I think you missed it, is that the logs are coming from AeroMarine. And they also said there's a lot of erosion at AeroMarine, which is putting the logs in the water. And my perception is maybe 10 or 15 years ago, action was taken that AeroMarine had to basically bulkhead that landfill area to keep it from seeping into the bay. And somebody needs to go back and look at that. Hang on, I'm trying to read my writing. The Complete Streets program. A couple members of the Complete Streets team quizzed me about a rain garden up in the area of Maple and Atlantic. And I just point out, and I shared with them, that a rain garden basically is designed to percolate the water into the ground. And that area, if you remember, in the winter, has a tremendous problem with water in the basement and ice on the street. I also looked at 3 homes along Atlantic and Church for purchase, and in one of the homes there was 3 sump pumps hooked to the borough sewer system. Another home had 6 to 8 inches of water in the basement. So there's a tremendously high water table there, and I don't think the state regulations allow you to recharge the land where the water table is already that high. One other thing. The Closing Arms location. I met with the police chief, and he was, I think, fairly set in where he wanted it. I'm going to send to members of the council and to the chief, and I told him I'd send it 3 times this week. 3 times this week, the area has been flooded. In 2 cases, Fireman's Park was flooded, but Ring Road or American Legion was not flooded. In the other case, both areas were extremely flooded. And there's also a history of, and that was at the half moon with a strong easterly, northeasterly wind. We have a history of the full moons in June and July, and back, I think, earlier in the year, flooded Fireman's Park. And so, again, I'm suggesting that you move the cut into Fireman's Park to the south side of the mailboxes, which are dry. And you'll see that in the pictures I'm going to forward to you all. And I think it's foolish to put the floodgates in that location where the floodgates themselves are going to be subject to flooding. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak?
Yes. Hello? Yeah, hi. Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. A couple of things. On this proposed boardwalk power link project, are the taxpayers at Keyport, would they be on the hook for this?
No, this is a private building issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you. On the Complete Streets Initiative, from what I understand, are we going to have future meetings on this?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Motion to close to the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So before we close, I just want to comment on what Mr. Lane was discussing about the logs that are on some of the beaches. Some of them are logs, some of them is driftwood. I would also like to point out that obviously this year has been, is there a backbeat or no? Can you guys hear me okay?
There's an echo.
Echo, right? I don't know why.
There's an echo.
I'll just go back on the phone. Hold on. Can you hear me now, fine? Jay, are you unmuted? There we go. Probably not. Now my headset's off. Better? Can you guys hear me? Okay. So in closing, I really want to give extra shout outs to our DPW who, along with our police department, as I've pointed out in the past, pretty much since March have come into work every day and had so many new scopes of work thrown at them. Throw in storms, throw in long-term power outages, throw in, traffic signals being down and having to direct traffic. Some of our major roadways were closed because of poles that still need to be replaced. But with that said, I, along with Jay and along with Bob Kutchman, are aware that some of the things that our DPW routinely take care of in the summer have not been tended to. Trust me, Jay and myself have been fielding numerous complaints over just miscellaneous things. And one of those include the conditions of Beach Park, meaning the sand area. And it is overgrown a little bit, and it is maybe some weeds there, a little bit. But we also had DPW manpower out for medical reasons. There's multiple reasons why the beach at Beach Park looks the way it does right now. But it will be rectified shortly, as well as once we can have the manpower to get machinery down there. We don't need a whole entire crew out with needing hernia repairs by trying to move some of those logs. We do know that they're there, Mr. Lane. We will see how we can get equipment down there. You know, in the past, we used to have a lot of efforts come in with Tom Gallo that worked with the inmate cleanup crews. And when you have 20 guys willing to move one log, it's a lot easier. We don't have that kind of manpower to move it at one time from DPW. So hopefully we can get some heavy equipment down there and get those logs moved. So we are aware they're there. Thank you for the reminder. But with that said, just like everything else this year, it's been difficult all around on many levels for a lot of people. But something happened today is just kind of a poignant reminder as we close on the topic of our beach conditions. While we were down evaluating the conditions of the beach, we're actually thinking about perhaps for the Environmental Commission to also look at it before it does get cleaned up. And it may be an area where we want to do another dune planting, dune grass planting, maybe maybe a few feet out, and move the volleyball net that never really gets utilized anyway. But in the middle of all these weeds, so to speak, there's this beautiful sunflower plant growing. So I encourage you all to stop down there and take a look at it. It's kind of a reminder that while we're all in turbulent times, some beautiful things are still around us. And today when I was down there looking at that, a New Jersey state goldfinch landed right on the sunflower. So there are beautiful things still around us, and hopefully we all can continue to move in a steadfast manner. I think where we've come from 5 months ago today to now is really remarkable, how we've moved the borough to get forward together. And this has kind of been the norm now, right? And 5 months ago, it was our first meeting, and it was on conference call. So we really, I think, kind of growing together, and hopefully we do not have another resurge, but I think we have things in place, heaven forbid that does happen. So thank you for everyone's efforts the last 5 months to work collaboratively together and get us all through this. And with that, can I please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.